I want to show some pictures, Jake.
Okay.
Fans through the not through the years. It seems like last year was like 5 years. I swear. Fans, I mean, you wouldn't even believe that we won a national championship just 2 years ago because last year felt so long. The inability to create open targets with the wide receivers, the inability for the quarterback to make the throws when the targets are there. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was just a big cluster of badness for Michigan fans. However, we got the remedy. Anywhere's 19, right? So let's look at these pictures from last year, right? And both these are man covers, but it's a man match, and it was the theme of the season last year. Take a look at all our yellow pants, Jake. No quarterback can perform under these conditions.
No.
None. No quarterback can perform under these conditions. Everybody near our wide receivers. That's not something that you want to see. Let's move on to the next picture. Again, not a picture. Remember you talked about clear picture?
Yeah.
This is not a clear picture. This is white jerseys all around the blue jerseys. And that is not what you want to see if you're an older quarterback or a younger quarterback, but especially when you're a young quarterback. Now, let's move on again. Take a look here. You see the space?
That's the dagger right there.
You see, this is the dagger right here, right? So you see the Jake route, the clear out. He never got to be the dig. Sorry about that, Jake. Right? You see the clear out, right? You can see Klein, who will be the flat route, but he's kind of just occupying a lower defender so that the throw doesn't have to be navigated so high above a defender, right? So you can just see how and why. Why are we doing this? Not just what are we doing. You can see it's a clear sacrifice. I'm not getting the ball. I just need to get this safety out of here for, it looks like, Samaj Morgan. And then Klein, okay, I need to make sure I occupy this lower intermediate defender so that there's space to throw this dig behind me. And then on the dig, you got to make sure that you get vertical and snap it off and create space. Make it clear for the quarterback. So a great job by Chip Lindsey, but a great job by all the wide receivers understanding what they're doing, but more importantly, understanding how to do it. You got space, you can make that throw. So now you give Bryce Underwood the opportunity to show that talent, show that skill, and be a superhero without actually having to wear a cape, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
This is a superhero level throw.
Yeah.
However, he's not wearing a cape. You got a great pocket there. You got guys open, but every single quarterback in the country cannot make this throw under these conditions after taking a sack, after not performing well for almost the entire second quarter, if that makes sense, right? Let's move on to the next one. Here it goes again. Right, so this is more of a man match type of coverage, which you got too high. They're not rushing a bunch of guys, and you got a cover guy at the top. However, Marlon Klein, he went on an out and up, and this is a design by Chip Lindsey and a great route by the tight end to make this easy for Bryce Underwood. But we've seen opportunities like this, not through the years, last year, where sometimes, it was seldom, but sometimes there were open guys. And those are the times the quarterback was just not able to make the throw. And then there are other times where the quarterback, it seems like he made a pretty good throw, but there's nowhere to throw the football. Here, you got a perfect marriage of places to throw the football because you can hold Donovan McCulley up down at the bottom of the screen with this football. You can sneak that ball in there to Samaj Morgan. Look at the space right in the middle of the field at about the 5-yard line. And then the only one that's dead is to the top. But then you get Marlon Klein, who runs a magnificent out and up. I remember Jake running some of those out and ups. It looks like you taught him. Outstanding out and up. He shows eyes to the flat, and then he gets vertical up the field. But I want to look at something right here. The ball's out of his hands if you don't know.
Yes.
Marlon Klein hasn't even looked back.
Yes.
Right? That's the anticipatory thrower. And when I say anticipatory thrower, it means I'm anticipating based off of I know my play. I know where my guys are supposed to be, and I don't have to see his face to throw the ball. Let me say it again. I don't have to see his face to throw the ball. I'm anticipating where he's going to be, and that's what football is all about. And he does an outstanding job there. And so you know what the rest of this story says, right? Marlon Klein catches the touchdown, first touchdown for Bryce Underwood. And it is an amazing sight to see what they were able to do. Chip Lindsey, Bryce Underwood, in concert with the wide receivers and tight ends. Outstanding showing by the offense.
I want to add to this. Can we pull those pictures back up, though, and start? So why that's so important, and usually when a guy's coming from high school, you're throwing typically to wide open guys. You don't need to be anticipatory, like Devin says. Look at that safety right below the eye in the end zone. If Bryce
right
is staring him down because he's open, Marlon's going to get hit, or that might be an interception. So the anticipation's key. If we go back to the other slide, the dagger route, the one right before this, look, another great photo. That's Simpson, number 9, coming out of the deck. This ball, what do they say, Devin? Because he's on the 15-yard line. 15-yard line. So 10 would be the 25, 20-yard line would be the 35. We say 18 to 22 yards on the hash for the dagger. That ball is going to be caught 20 yards on the hash.
Perfectly, exactly how you draw it up.
And can we go back to the first slide that Devin showed of last year's offense? Look at this is another thing that Bryce did. In credit to the offensive line for giving him protection. Bryce stood tall in the pocket. That's a quarterback that's bailing. Really, that's relatively a clean pocket. It looks like
no. I'm gonna tell you right now, Jake. That's a really that's a great pocket.
You should be stepping up into that.
I've
right?
been in much less clean pockets. If you know what I mean. So that's a great pocket. But let me tell you, his clock is rolling, and not only. And this is not a bash last year's quarterback deal, but let's talk about why he has to get out right, because he gets out. And you're thinking, well, it's a good pocket. Why are you doing it? Let me tell you a couple reasons why a quarterback would do that.
Okay.
One, remember in the first episode how I talked about the ability to succeed at quarterback in spite of quarterback coaching, right?
Yeah.
So obviously Coach Harbaugh does a good job, but he's the head coach. He's the CEO. He can't be in every single meeting making sure the quarterback is doing every single thing right? He has to trust his staff, and I just don't think that the quarterbacks for Michigan were being served in a way that's conducive to their success, the highest level of their success, right? Obviously, successful enough to win 3 Big Ten championships, beat Ohio State 4 times, and win a single national championship. However, I think there was more there. There was more there. And so when you have a quarterback who, first, you have to take the appropriate drop, right? Why do you have to take the appropriate drop, Jake? Well, if you don't take the appropriate drop, when you get to the end of your drop, if it's not long enough, your clock starts, right? So your clock starts 1,000, 2,000, or whatever it is. You have an internal clock as a quarterback to know, I need to get this ball out soon, right? So that's the first thing. You didn't see the video. We can't show the video because of copyrights, But he didn't take a proper drop, right? So now the clock has started quicker, right? So without imminent danger, he creates it for himself, right? He starts to create this danger. 2, he sees nobody open, no space, no hope of anybody getting open, right? So a sped up clock accompanied with no guys open, especially whatever you practice in practice. I don't know if this is because I'm sure they were open in practice. They're not right now. Those two things working together, it forces you to get out when the pocket is clean. Right. So now you're out with the pocket clean, and so now you're just trying to play backyard football. And we didn't have any quarterbacks that were really capable of playing backyard football to those higher levels, even though I can tell you for a fact Bryce Underwood in high school, outstanding in the backyard football play. Obviously, we don't want to see it all the time. However, when you have to have those opportunities, you have to be able to do it, and he's going to be able to make those plays as well. Didn't see a ton of it on Saturday because he didn't need to. Like you said, great protection. However, there are so many different things that go into allowing a quarterback to play on time and do things correctly, and it literally starts when you catch the football with your footwork to make sure that it marries to what's going on down the field, but also marries to how the offensive line is blocking. Is it a quick? Is it a longer protection play? Is it a waggle where you got to move your launch point? Is it a naked? Do you got to capture the edge? So many different things, and I just don't think those details were followed as well a year ago in the quarterback room, and I think that they're going to start to move toward that because from what I've learned about Chip Lindsey, he's similar to Borges where he's anal about it.
Yeah.
He's anal. Do it right. There is no other option. Usually there's another option, one option. Do it right.
Yeah.
That's it. Do it right. So outstanding job, like I said, by all those guys, Chip Lindsey, Bryce Underwood, and the wide receiving core and tight ends in concert.